Hi guys, thanks for joining me again. Your movie guru back with another review. Uh, so keeping up with what I said last video, I'm going to try this new thing where for those of you who don't want to watch a long video, I'm going to give you my score and then my summary of the review up front. So if you just want to say, okay, is this a movie that I want to go and see or not? You can learn that within the first few minutes of the video, and then if you want to hear a more detailed analysis of why I give it what I give it, then you can watch the rest of the video. That said, this is a little hard to do for this film because I'm going to be reviewing Terminator Dark Fate. And for those of you who know me or who don't know me, Terminator, the original Terminator, is one of probably my favorite film of all time. I don't think Terminator 2 is quite as good, but it is still one of my favorite films of all time. I think Terminator 1 is just about the best blend of sci-fi and horror that you can get, except, for maybe Alien. But the sci-fi and the horror and then the themes that it talks about that are still relevant today, it's why it's one of my favorite films. So that said, this film had a lot to live up to. I give it a 7.5 out of 10. Summary: great action. Really kind of throws you back to the first two in terms of you're being excited about a new Terminator and with new abilities and just things that you want to see. Good pacing. There are slow parts, but those move right along quickly with the fast parts. There is a little bit of humor sprinkled throughout, which serves as a good way to kind of break up the seriousness of the film. So all in all, I'd say it's probably the best Terminator film since the first two. Doesn't quite live up to the first two films, but I'd say it's definitely probably the best since those first two. So I definitely recommend going to see it in theaters. If you like action films, if you're a fan of the Terminator films, I do believe that you'll enjoy this one. So that's my summary. Getting in a little bit more in depth. So this film, Linda Hamilton is finally back. She hasn't been in the film since Terminator 2, which came out, I believe it was in 1992 that it came out. So Linda Hamilton is back. Arnold Schwarzenegger is back. He's been in other films, but not really so much as heavily as he is in this one. So you've got Arnold's back. Gabrielle Luna plays the Terminator. Natalia Reyes is the John Connor-ish type of person. And then you got Mackenzie Hamilton, who plays the role of the protector of, this person that has this huge effect on the future, that you see in the first two. So I'll get into what I think is where it misses the mark first off. Or I'll take it back. I'll start with what I think it does right first. So one of the things that I lamented about the Terminator films after Terminator 2 are James Cameron produced the first two films, and one of his big central themes to his Terminator films were, that there wasn't fate. There's no fate but what we make. That nothing was set in stone. That you could alter the future based on your actions today. And he even talks about this in some of the interviews he does, where how he viewed time, as kind of like strings, and that if you could reach out and kind of, touch them, you would be able to affect things, even if you just, were grazed the strings of time and, just changed a few things, you would be able to alter the course of the future. So that was a theme that was very apparent in his first two films. And then when he kind of gave up the franchise, Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines, they kind of did away with all that and said, that, oh yeah, they were able to, maybe alter the time of when it happens, but it still happens. And then, you got Terminator Salvation and then Terminator Genesis. They were all kind of still in that vein where, they were discarding what was central to the first two films. So that was one of the big things that I lamented about it, that I enjoyed when James Cameron was directing, was, that was his whole vision. And, I felt that was a lot deeper than how the other ones kind of brushed that aside and just specifically made it an action movie. The first two films really had an idea and something to say about, humanity and, not just about artificial intelligence, although it has a lot to say about that, but it has something to say about humanity as a whole. And then the films after that kind of did away with that, and it's just more of, okay, this is an action film. You're coming to see this, you know, for the Terminator, and this iconic kind of villain. Kind of, I've seen this a lot. Same with the Aliens movies, where they kind of, to me, they kind of degenerated into, okay, it's all about the creature. Nothing else about any other themes around the film. So I was happy to see that in this film they kind of returned to that essence that was in the first two. And then with the Terminator in this film, I thought they did a really good job of giving it a little bit of nuance, making it somewhat different, different enough from the first two that you were excited about it. So in the first Terminator, you had never seen anything like this. Okay, I believe it was in 1984 that it came out. This concept was unlike anything else that you really seen. A robot inside of a person's body. The cyborg. And then in the second one, they came out with, okay, yeah, this thing's liquid metal. It can impersonate people. It can form sharp objects. It's really dangerous. It can regenerate after being shot. So that was continued with something else you hadn't seen. And then this one has a Terminator as well that's able to do some things that you've never seen. And, I enjoyed that because it, kind of keeps things fresh. And then I think that it was nice to see Lindell Hamilton back. I think she does a great job in her role. I think Mackenzie Hamilton does a good job. She really portrays her role well as, this type of jaded future soldier and, completely serious and is all about the mission. So, the acting, I think, was well done. I liked that they kind of returned to some of the past themes, and then I enjoyed the fact that, the Terminator was exciting. That said, I think it misses the mark in a lot of ways, in so much that I really feel that it could have had a greater story to tell, and it doesn't really delve as much into it. So I think, like I say, it definitely does a better job than the its immediate predecessors after Terminator 2 of, delving into that story. But I feel like it left a lot undone. Mild, like I said, I don't do spoilers, but kind of a mild spoiler here, in so much that it changes, it does say that, okay, this future never happened, that was supposed to happen in the first two Terminator films. In fact, Sarah Connor was able to change the future, and instead this happened. But we really don't get into that. We really don't get into more about how that future came about and, what that's like. Instead, it's just kind of like, okay, well, yeah, the future that you stopped, that didn't happen. But this new future, pretty much, it's the same thing. And to me, that was kind of cheap. I felt like, okay, what was the point of you doing everything that you did and then altering the course of the future? And then this new future, okay, it was delayed a bit, but eventually, the same thing happened, but in a different way. So, I really felt like there was more that they could have done with that. And that said, another thing about the Terminator, I did like that it was new. It brought some new things, new, fresh things. But I didn't, I would have liked them seeing seen them going in maybe a little bit more of a different route. And I only say this because of in the film they talk about this new future. So it kind of made me think that, okay, if you're saying this future that's set up in the first two films is completely done away with, and this completely new future happened, how does it, how is it still being called a Terminator? It's I feel like it would have been called something else. I mean, so even when you're thinking about there are slight changes between Terminator 1 and Terminator 2, where in Terminator 1, the model was called a T-800. And because of their actions in Terminator 1, in the new film, it's a Cyberdyne Systems Model T-101, because that's how the Terminator eventually is created, in that timeline. And then in this one, it completely does away with all that, but yet they're still called Terminators. They still come up with basically kind of the same type of template. And so that's why I'm kind of like, I really wish they would have done more to differentiate the different timelines. To me, they missed a big opportunity there, because to me that would have been vastly interesting to see that, if it was, hey, this timeline, this happened, and, this is the world that was created because of it. Now, in this timeline, this completely different thing happened, and so this is why we have these different effects because of it. And this Terminator is a lot different than, what you saw in these ones, because of, these are two different futures. The weapons are different, maybe some of the capabilities are different, so I really wish they would have gone a bit more into that. But like I say, this film, I have to, in a lot of respects, I have to remind myself to judge this as your average moviegoer, and say that, hey, not everybody's, as big as a Terminator film fan as I am. And so not everybody's going to look at it that way. So that's why I ended up giving it a 7.5 out of 10, because I think that most people, they will come in, your general moviegoer, and say that, hey, that was a cool movie. I like the villain. I like the action scenes. The action scenes were real done. I thought the CGI was pretty well done. Nothing that I was looking and saying that's completely fake. Like I said, the acting's well done. It definitely keeps you vested and interested throughout the course of the movie. So I think, like I said, that your average moviegoer will look at it and say, okay, yeah, that was a decent movie. And then this is what I saw. The Rotten Tomato score, it had a 69%, with the average rating being a 6 out of 10. And then on the audience side, it was an 85% score, with the average rating being a 4 out of 5 stars. And that's, like I said, that's about what I thought that it would be. Your average moviegoer is going to say, if they went and saw this, your average action movie fan, okay, that was a good action movie. I was entertained, not by any means the best thing I've ever seen, or anything of that nature, but it was entertaining. So that's why I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I do think that if you just enjoy action movies, that you will enjoy this movie. If you're a die-hard Terminator fan, or you really like plots, or you really like to get invested into a story, then you might be a little bit more introspective with this movie and say, okay, there's a few things that I would have liked done differently. So that's what it is. I said I enjoyed the movie. I had a fun time. I thought it was a pretty wild ride. But being a giant Terminator fan, there were a few aspects in which I was disappointed. That's it for this review. This is one of my longer reviews. I do have a lot to say about this one, because, like I say, I'm a big Terminator fan. Thanks once again for watching, guys. Let me know what you think about my reviews. Think they're too long, think they're too short. If you disagree with what I'm saying, send me a comment. Let me know what you think. I appreciate you guys' feedback. Once again, hit the like, hit the subscribe. I'll see you guys next time. Hope you guys are having a fantastic weekend. Once again, thanks for watching.